it is 95% lies on so many levels. So I read this book. I started reading this book. I have something to offer the audience if they kind of want to start digging, but you don't want to go straight into the 400-page book. There's a biographics video. I'm a big fan of the channel. I sent this to you.
Yeah.
The main source for that is the book. So if you've watched the movie and you want to dig a little deeper, if you want to basically know the story of the book, which is slightly different from the movie, watch the biographics video. I'll put a link in the description. That's 20 minutes. It basically summarizes the book perfectly. And then you'll see the nuances between the book and the movie. You've experienced that. If you then want to go deeper, read the book. Read the Catch Me If You Can book. You'll know the story, but you'll get the extra details. And then if you want to go a bit deeper than that, there's a 7-8 part podcast that I've just blasted through in the last couple of days called Pretend, where the guy basically does a deep dive. The main thing he's doing is he's using this book as a source, but he double checked a lot of things. Like, we're talking about getting government documentation about prison sentences, about checking with schools, whether he's been to places and stuff like that. So that, I listened to it quickly. It's a podcast. And if you enjoyed that, read this book, The Greatest Hoax on Earth, Catching the Truth While We Can. Sorry, there's another level. If you read the Wikipedia article on Frank Abagnale Jr., that is mostly sourced off this book, so you can read that in 10-15 minutes. You should probably do that. It's the next easy one. So Wikipedia article, podcast, book. So I'm now not going to do a deep dive 1 hour on that. Instead, I'm going to give Bardet a list of bullet points of things from the movie, and you're going to pick 3 or 4, and I'm going to briefly tell you basically how the movie compared to the book compared to real life. I'll put them up.
Let's start with work with the FBI.
So this is one of the big ones. According to the movie, he works with the FBI while he's in prison. Then he gets special parole and then works with the FBI pretty much full time. They didn't acknowledge that he starts his own company, but the idea is that he's always collaborated. There is some truth to this, so we're not going to give this one a pants on fire lie. He is claimed. This is another thing, another dimension to it, is what Frank Abagnale has said in all of his speaking engagements. Because the number one thing this guy is a speaker. He has made millions of dollars. He gets paid 20, 30 grand per appearance to go around. For years, he did it talking about his story. But then when they started getting a bit debunked, he's now just a fraud expert. So he kind of sells himself as being the Catch Me If You Can guy. But then he comes and he just talks for an hour about cybersecurity and stuff like that.
Right.
The crux of it is, it does seem like he has lectured at the FBI. He's been brought in as an outsider to do seminars on cybersecurity or whatever. His son is actually a real FBI agent, and he said in an interview, "Oh yeah, my dad came in and lectured." So it does seem like he has worked with them a little bit. He definitely he never had an office in the FBI. He was never on the payroll of the FBI. He has claimed that he was an FBI agent. He's claimed that he went undercover for the FBI in secret military bases. None of that is true. So he has an affiliation with the FBI. Very annoyingly, the FBI has refused to basically make official. So they've sort of said, yes, he has had an affiliation with the FBI, but then they won't come forward and say he's never been an agent, he's never been on the payroll, but he is not an FBI agent.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one, a romantic.
Okay, this is actually one of the worst ones. So in the movie, it's made out like he falls in love with the Amy Adams character, and he has feelings like he's not in love with the woman he loses virginity to, but there is just an emotional side to him. And it seems like he has a heart. He did love the Amy Adams character. He would have loved to settle down. As I said earlier, this guy was just addicted. He actually, based on some of the people on the podcast, he was a sex addict. It seems like even after this, later on when he was on tour talking about this, he would hook up with multiple women in a night. So he's a full-fledged sex addict. And you read the book, all he's talking about is hooking up with women. And there's one the one that Brenda is based on, who was a virgin when he met her, said that she wasn't going to get married until... she said that she wasn't going to have sex until she got married, took her virginity, en route to meet her parents, met her parents. She basically thought that because they'd had sex, they were going to get married. They started making wedding arrangements, and he basically bailed on her, not because he was being chased by the police, but because he was getting too involved.
Right.
He claims in the book, again, this is all in the book, so it's a huge grains of salt. But this is his story. This is what he's claiming. So this is him in his best light. He takes his virginity from this girl, lets her believe they're going to get married, then takes her to a park, tells her the truth about him, but then freaks out, says, "I'll be back in an hour," leaves, never sees her again. So, and the way he talks about women in the book is pretty
Right.
fucking disgusting. They're literally just conquests. It's like, oh, this broad here, this chick there. I slept with her. She was great. I actually was a bit skeptical about maybe he's just making it up and he's being a macho man. But based on the podcast, and they'd actually talked to a couple of women who had gone on dates with him, maybe he wasn't as successful as he said, but it does seem like he was very aggressive and flirting to the point of stalking some of these women.
Right.
But he probably was sleeping with a bunch of women, but God knows how he was doing it. And then, yeah, based on later tales, he was a sex addict. So not at all romantic.
No, I thought it was going to be funnier than that.
Oh, none of these aren't particularly funny.
Escape artist.
Okay, another good one. So in the movie, they show him escaping through the plane. He then, in real life, said, actually, it wasn't through the plane, because loads of people said that's not possible. He said, I actually escaped through the kitchen or whatever. Didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. It's in the book.
Mm-hmm.
He claims that he escaped through the plane. But then he made out in his speech, because again, this guy has spoken so much. He said so much. I've literally heard different things. I'm like, well, that doesn't jive with that. He claims that he escaped from Atlanta's maximum security facility. He said that. He says it in the book. He says it in interviews and stuff. The podcast, the book, they researched it. He was never incarcerated at that prison. Only 2 people ever escaped it. They definitely weren't him. The only documented escape that he ever had was once, I think he had been arrested, and he was sort of in the waiting area of the office, and they were processing his paperwork, and he walked out.
Right.
That's the only documented time of escaping. But then he got caught again very quickly, and I think they added 2 years to his sentence for escaping. So he got out of custody once or twice, but not nearly in the fancy ways that he said.
Yeah, it did seem a little bit the plane.
Yeah.
Also, the scene that happens, he's still in the airport, but then it just cuts to him being at his mum's house.
Yeah, he in the book, he doesn't claim that he went straight to his mum's or whatever, but he definitely claims that he managed to get away.
Yeah. Let's go hooker. Yeah. Next one is last one. Hooker story, because that's one of my favorite scenes.
It is, yeah. I knew you were going to pick that one. So this one's interesting because apparently they weren't going to include it in the movie, and then Leo read this in the book. It's pretty much word for word, beat for beat, the story you see, the scene that you see in the movie. Mm-hmm. And Leo said, we have to put this scene in because, I mean, it's a great scene. And if you take it verbatim, I mean, it's a great scene in the movie, so it's fun. So Leo insisted on doing it. They put it in. And he loves this story. He brought it up on Johnny Carson. I saw that bit.
Yeah,
and but he's also, the way he tells it is a bit gross. Like one of the terms that he uses, hooking the hooker, and it's very disparaging of the woman in it, who he always justifies it as, I was being conned, so I conned her and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm never going to find out whether this happened in real life or, I mean, I just assumed it wasn't true. It's actually worse than that. After he was on the show, before he wrote the book, he started doing these speaking tours. And his agent, who's one of the main sources for this book, would travel with him. And when he was asked in the podcast, this is where I heard it, he's being interviewed about how this guy was a phony. And he gave us the example that they were at a convention with bankers or something. And some guy, not Frank Abagnale Jr., told, apparently it's a joke amongst bankers. I don't know exactly how the joke goes as a joke as opposed to a story, but the punchline is, I guess we both got screwed that night.
Right.
And the next day, he watched him use that joke as part of his seminar as it was a real story. So this guy saw in real time him hear this joke from someone else and then weave it into his myth. Then he put it in the book, and then it got into his book, and then it got used into the movie. But yeah, it's complete fiction.